¿Qué tal gente que sintoniza las plataformas de Metal Memes MX? Yo soy Frank y hoy les traigo otra entrevista bastante especial, esta vez con una banda legendaria de la escena sueca. Así que gracias a nuestro patrocinador oficial ACK Promote por esta entrevista con los señores de Katatonia. No se lo pierdan, exclusivamente en Metal Memes MX. It's an honor for me to interview you, NIKLAS, because
Oh, it's
Katatonia is such an epic and legendary band. So welcome.
thank you. It's an honor to be here and to get to talk with you.
Amazing, amazing. So let's get started.
Yes.
Well, I gotta say, I want to start with this last album, Sky Void of Stars, because man, it's such an amazing album. Like sometimes, I like to tell the person that I'm interviewing that I don't know one or two songs from the album, but this time I couldn't choose one or two or three because from the first second of the album to the last one, it's an amazing album. So, well, my first question would be like, what was the inspiration for this album, and what makes it so special?
I think what makes it so special is that it was written during quite or a very unique time in our existence. And I think everyone's existence, since it was written during the pandemic, and the inspiration for it was definitely to have the momentum going in Katatonia, making another record and not sitting on our hands and not doing anything, but have a purpose as a band, and also creating new and stronger than ever material to go out and tour with, because that was something that was taken away from us when the pandemic hit, just as we were gonna release the City Burials, which were in fact in some ways kind of like a comeback album, since we had the hiatus, which was a little bit more than a year long. Not that we were ever gonna disband or go parted ways, but it was still like kind of that album that came out of the time we had off to recharge batteries. So that was kind of like it was very disappointing not being able to give City Burials proper justice. We only did one tour for it, which was last year, in the end of last year, for the state run. So at least it got like one tour, which would have been very sad if it only had like festival gigs and one Bulgarian show. That would have been very sad. But yeah, so the catalyst and the motivation was to come back and do this touring cycle, which we're gonna do now for Sky Void of Stars, and which we started in the 20th of January with the European run.
Well, that's amazing. We also have this podcast on the weekends, and when this album was released, all of my coworkers on the podcast, we all said the same thing. Like, it's an amazing album. Like, it has nothing that I don't know. It has everything that you want to listen on an album from Katatonia, because as I said before, you guys are like a legendary band, and sometimes when a band it's have like this long trajectory, they have a little bit of problems making new music that sounds different and that sounds amazing. But you did a really good job on this one, and we were all thrilled when it came out. So yeah, congrats on that one.
Thank you so much. And I think
Yeah.
the main reason why music, like our music, still feels somewhat fresh and that we're not rehashing stuff is because Jonas, he writes music primarily for him to enjoy, and of course for others to enjoy as well. But the core is to create music that he believes is interesting, good, and that is fulfilling in some kind of way, and not just to sit at home and figure out how to make the next better, you know, album and what people would like to hear, because I think that's when you're starting in the wrong end. So if you're starting in with the idea of trying to make as good music for yourself as possible, then you can't really fail, because then you've already succeeded with the foremost like important thing, which is creating art, and not a product. And so I think maybe it sounds a little bit, I don't know, pretentious, but I think that's the key success to Katatonia. It has always been like that, and I think that it will never change. It would never be, you know, internal board meeting having like, oh, but okay, we did that on that record, so now we have to try and do this, and maybe we have to try and have one of those songs in there, and this worked good for this band, so we're gonna try to, you know, and I think that's why Katatonia always sounds like Katatonia. It's hard to put a label to it as well. It's kind of like, I don't know what to, you know, what to compare it with, but it's kind of like having that coffee which is ground with just that special bean which you can't find anywhere else, and that's Katatonia's music.
Oh yeah, of course. I agree with that. Like, not only in music, like whatever you do in life, if you're gonna expose it to the world, you gotta like it first. Because if you don't like what you're exposing, how is it gonna everyone else? It's gonna like it, you know. And you said something really important, because Catatonia does have like this unique sound and presence and essence for itself. And well, my next question was gonna be like, Sweden, it's such a big place for metal bands, you know, like a lot of my favorite bands come from Sweden. Just yesterday, I was interviewing Soen, which is also from Sweden. So my next question was going to be like, what makes Sweden like such a special place for this kind of music? Like, I don't know what is it, because I used to have a band, and most of our inspiration came from bands from Sweden, because we played a lot of like melodic death metal, and you know, this ambience and all these styles are amazing. So yeah, what makes Sweden such a special place for this kind of music?
I think it has two key factors. It's and it usually makes people laugh, but it's the weather and our like harsh seasons, which we're going through now. It's the winter time, and it's pretty much a period of time we have to endure here in Sweden, and we are very low on vitamin D. If it's not really snowy and it's dark, then you can expect like having a very dark gray quilt of clouds above us, not letting too much of sunshine through. And I think that kind of creates this general mood, and that makes it, if you're picking up an instrument and you're writing something, then it's gonna be, it's gonna be with some kind of frustration, and either that or some moody or gloomy kind of take on it. Even ABBA, which is like the pop legends from Sweden, they have some songs and some parts of the songs which are very very dark and very kind of like melancholic kind of color to it. So I think that's one of the key factors, and then that our government is very very good at putting money into that kind of thing, where you can get subsidized rental rooms if you're just filling in some lists and showing that your progress and showing that you're doing stuff at the rehearsal place more than drinking beer. Then you can get some money from the government that they are supporting that, which I think it's made it lots easier for people to pick up an instrument and form a band here than maybe other parts of the world, and that's why we have so many bands per capita here. And I think it's something the same in Finland as well, that they have even more bands per capita there, metal bands, and that they also give out some kind of government support, and they're even more depressed and gloomy than we are. So maybe, yeah, I think they have even harsh weather when I think about it. So yeah, I think weather and government support is two key factors.
Well, that's amazing. I wasn't expecting that, but it makes a lot of sense because I've never been to Sweden, but I was on Norway once, which is right beside you. And the seasons are crazy because I went there in summer and it's the total opposite. I remember like the sun set at like, I don't know, 11 at night, and the morning started like 3 a.m. on the morning, which was weird because here in Mexico we don't have those seasons like with such extreme hours, like darken hours or day hours, you know. So it makes a
Yeah,
lot of sense when you said it.
yeah, it's pretty cool when you're going to a bar during like in the midsummer here, like say like in the middle of July or something, and if you're going to a bar at 7 and you leave at 3:30, then it's pretty much you have missed out on the whole night. It's pretty much the same kind of same kind of sun when you when you get out. So it kind of like it messes with your head time wise as well. This
Yeah,
the circadian rhythm, or what it's called, is a little bit thrown off.
yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. I know that because I only know that because I went to Norway that one time and I was like, what is this, you know? So yeah, I believe it. So my next question was going to be, well, next week you're coming here to Mexico. You have a few dates, and I know you've been here before. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think about the Mexican crowd? And I also wanted to ask you, I know you're coming on this tour as Katatonia, but we have a lot of festivals now here in Mexico. Most of them are like on the last months of the year. So I just wanted to ask you if aside from these dates alone, you would come to any of these festivals as well.
Yeah, I actually have no idea, but I wouldn't take that as and like something that would be impossible, since I've if I'm remember correctly, I've never played in a Mexican festival, but I've been to a Mexican festival called Hell and Heaven,
Oh yeah.
together with Bloodbath, and that was when I was filling in as a guitar tech. So I was actually teching for Bloodbath then, helping out, and that was really cool. I got to see Kiss, and I got to see a few other bands, and it was just like this really cool and out of this world experience. So yeah, I would really love to do it. And we were set to play, and I think it might have been that festival we were set to play in the in the beginning of 2020. It might have been another festival, but some Mexican festival which we unfortunately needed to cancel because of the pandemic. But yeah, I wouldn't take it for like any like that it would be impossible us doing it either this year or maybe following year. And and I mean the the Mexican crowd is it's something else. It's and I take that together with like the rest of like Latin America, and just that it's so great. It's like coming from like small venue to a big arena, you know, in terms of like how loud it is and how and it, like the energy and the vibes and everything. It's just it's unbelievable. It's kind of you know, it's that kind of goosebump moment, and I really love it. And I just wish that it would be like that in more places of the world, and that we like more places could be that open and that spontaneous as you are.
Yeah. The Mexican crowd, it's a crazy one. They're really passionate and they love the bands and they love the gigs. So they give everything to the bands. So that's why I wanted to ask you, because yeah, I know this. And I think the festival you were saying, maybe it was Candelabrum Metal Fest, because it got canceled right on the 2020 because of the pandemic, and it was such a shame. But they are doing it now. We went there last year and it was amazing. Hell and Heaven was amazing last year as well. Kiss
Okay,
was
nice.
the last band last year. So
Yeah,
yeah, I feel
yeah.
you. Yeah, I feel you. So I don't want to take much of your time. I have just this one last question. This one, it's one I always ask, and well, it is like, what is the craziest, or I don't know, weirdest thing that you have experienced on this metal road, or on this rock and roll road?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, it's we're a very mild band. We're so like far from Mötley Crüe and Pantera as you can come. So I only have very boring answers to that, and it's not me trying to be diplomatic or something. It's there's not too much craziness going around in the world, like a world of Katatonia when we're touring. But yeah, I don't know. Like it was one time I was pretty sure that I was going to die because it was such a bad flight. It was a domestic flight with Katatonia flying into the US to start a US tour. I think it was back in 2000, and I'm gonna say 2013 might be when we flew in to support Opeth, and it was a small domestic flight, like a small plane, and we flew straight into a thunderstorm. We could see the thunderstorm from the tarmac being taxiing out, and we were thinking, no, but this flight is definitely gonna get canceled. They're just gonna go straight into the terminal and just drop us off and say that we have to wait, like, or just like take another like the next flight. But no, they decided just to fly straight into it, and we were kind of like a glove in the wind, going into it, and it was pretty cinematic. It was a lightning storm, so you could see the lightning, and you could like see the faces when the lightning hit, and it was just like everybody was pretty pretty like willing to meet with the maker. So but we survived, and I rarely get scared when I fly. I think I'm too pragmatic that way. I follow the statistics, and I know that it's like 3 or 4 times more dangerous to drive, like not get on the plane and drive back from the airport than to actually board the plane. So but then I was feeling like, okay, this might be the the last 5 minutes of my life. But yeah, but in terms of like backstage things, it's we're a boring band. I think if anyone would manage to sneak in backstage and hang out with us for 5 minutes, they would run to the bar and try to speak with more cooler and more energetic people.
Well, I don't believe like you have to be like a crazy persons to be like, but that's a crazy story. Like feeling you're going to die, it's something really, really scary. And well, that's a crazy story. So
Yeah.
yeah, well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate this interview. As I said before, you are part from a legendary band. So thank you so much. And we will see you here in Mexico for sure.
I'm so looking forward to it, and it's been a pleasure. It was very nice talking to you on this dark and cold Friday evening here in Stockholm.
Oh, it was very nice talking to you as well. Here it's really sunny, but yeah.
Yes, looking forward to it.
NIKLAS, SANDIN, everybody. Thank you so very much. You can see this on Metal Memes MX.